Good afternoon, it's Liam Neild here with your MU review for Manchester United's extremely disappointing 1-0 defeat at home to Southampton, which happened yesterday morning. I wouldn't say it ruined my entire day, but it definitely started it off on the wrong foot. We were really piss poor, and to be honest, this is a result that sends us straight back to the drawing board after a really positive start to 2016. I mean, except for the last minute draw at Newcastle, we'd won every game we'd played. We'd just coming off the back of a 1-0 win at Anfield, which I really thought was going to boost our spirits, but we just sort of fell flat once again, and how many times this season has this happened? I mean, this is worse than the nil-nils. I mean, to be honest, performance-wise, it was exactly the same. The only difference was this time the opposition got a goal, but the thing that I hated the most about it is that the entire match I had this feeling that it was going to be 1-0 Southampton. It was the same sort of game as last year when we lost by the same scoreline, where you just thought Southampton know exactly how to play against us. They have a game plan and they've executed it perfectly so far. They're going to go and make it a smash and grab just like we did last week, and it's exactly what happened. At no point in the game did we really look like we were going to score, and that's something that, as a Manchester United fan who's grown up in the most prosperous era of Manchester United football in history, is extremely worrying. This isn't just something that's affecting us this season and in the short-term future. This is something that can have a lasting impact over the years. No club is too big to go into massive decline, and Man United, in my opinion, are the biggest club in the world, but if we don't get our priorities sorted out, we're not going to ever get back to the heights that we were at, as few as, 3, 4, 5 years ago. We're never going to be, competitive again if we don't sort things out from the top level moving down. We are losing ground so fast at this point, that's the thing that really worries me. Is Spurs won very well, came from behind to win, 3-1 at Crystal Palace. Not an easy place to go and get a result. And they scored some fantastic goals. Dele Alli's goal was absolutely outrageous, and that's a player who was playing in League One last year. Spurs have basically taken our role as far as bringing youth players through. The number of players they've got under 24 years old is unbelievable. They found some really good talent, and they could push for the title this year. Especially with Arsenal losing to Chelsea today, City dropping points. Everyone's in the mix. Leicester are top of the league with 15 games to go. Everybody's in the mix, and we're not. And that's the thing that really, I wouldn't say it breaks my heart, but it just makes me question everything that's happened in the last 2 years, because after Ferguson left, not only Ferguson leaving but David Gill leaving as well, which I actually think had even more of an impact, is the fact that we lost not only our long-standing manager, but we lost our chief executive, and a very good chief executive who had a great working relationship with Ferguson, and that's really what breeded the success over the years for Manchester United. The consistent success was in the consistency that existed at our manager, and at a higher level at the chief executives as well. We continued to be successful after the Glazer takeover, but now we've lost Ferguson, we've lost David Gill, we've got Ed Woodward, who really doesn't know how to run a football club. I'm sure he's a very good businessman. I mean, we've seemed to have, Manchester United popcorn, Manchester United potato chips, Manchester United aeroplanes, but we don't have a Manchester United football club at this point, and that is what we are. And I think that Ed Woodward can't see that. He's lost sight of what he's really doing. What he's supposed to be doing is, prioritising what's going on the pitch. All that other stuff is extra nonsense that does not need to be brought into the equation. We're making enough money. Every club in the Premier League is making enough money at this point. We don't need to worry about making ourselves profitable. We need to worry about making ourselves a good football team that is fun to watch and that people will gravitate towards, because 5-year-old kids, 6-year-old kids who are watching football for the first time this season, how many of them are going to pick Manchester United as their team? None. They'll probably go to sleep. They probably wouldn't even like football watching Manchester United games, and that would make Sir Matt Busby turn over in his grave. That is just an absolute cornerstone of what Manchester United is as a club. Win, lose or draw, we entertain, we play good football, and we give it our all. And I'm sitting here thinking Ryan Giggs is sitting on the bench, next to Louis van Gaal, who I don't know what he's doing on his clipboard. He must be playing a crossword at this point, because he's not doing anything constructive for the team. And Ryan Giggs must be absolutely losing his mind, because he can't overhaul the manager at this point, at least not without the authority of the board at Manchester United, who seem to be really far up Louis van Gaal's arse at this point. And he knows exactly what's wrong. I'm not saying he can fix it, but he can't. He's not in charge of the team, so he can't change it. But there is no way that Ryan Giggs is sitting on that bench not seeing what is happening before his eyes, because he is, from a playing standard, he's the epitome of what Ferguson and David Gill were in terms of consistency and a real understanding of what Manchester United is. He bleeds Manchester United. Ryan Giggs is one of those players who would run through a brick wall for this club, for this badge that is on his chest, and we don't have a single player out there who'll do that. Not even Wayne Rooney, our fucking captain. Not even him would do that. He'll collect his paycheck at the end of the week, just like everybody else, and go down the supermarket, get his shopping, hang out with his kids. You know, he's not worried about it anymore. He's over the hill. He's saying, "Oh, it's all right. I'm not bothered." You know, we need players with passion. We need players who really want to play for our club, who understand what it is to play for Manchester United. And right now, there is a disconnect between the coaching staff, the playing staff, and the higher ups. You know, there is just no cohesion in this club as a whole, and that goes far beyond Louis van Gaal as a manager. I don't think sacking him would do much. I don't think bringing in 3 or 4 good players would do that much. I think that it's something that goes on from the top level. You know, this is something that comes down to Manchester United having lost their identity in the last 2 or 3 years, because, you know, when Ferguson left, yeah, it's been a period of transition. We had a terrible season under David Moyes. We learned our lesson. We brought in a man who could stabilise the ship, and there was a very good reason we gave him a 3-year contract. He was going to get us back in the Champions League first season, did that. He was supposed to build on that this season, get us challenging for the title. We weren't asking to win it. What we were asking for this season is a maintenance of the level that we'd already established from last season, and an improvement in terms of the quality of the team, in terms of the performances, in terms of regaining that kind of rhythm and flow that is associated with Manchester United and has been for decades. But he's completely gone off the rails on this plan this season, because he's trying to play the same football that got us 4th place last year in a league that is far more competitive than it was last season, and the results are showing at this point. You know, teams like Leicester City, Spurs, who are playing the right kind of football, they're the teams that are being successful this year. You know, teams like Stoke, West Ham, you know, the list goes on of teams that are playing better football and deserve to be higher up in the table than we are at this point. You know, we've ground out results. We beat Liverpool last week playing terribly, but at this point, you know, it's not about the results. I mean, obviously I care about the results, but I care far more about watching Manchester United play and being entertained by Manchester United when they play, because football is a passion. It's something that inspires a great deal of, you know, just emotion and dedication and passion in individuals like myself. You know, I've been more heartbroken by Manchester United results than by any woman in my entire life, you know, because I pour that much of myself into watching the game, and it usually gives it all back to me. But watching United now, it's like a drug addiction. It's like, this is something that used to make me happy, that used to get me high, but now it's just I'm just doing it because I'm addicted, and I can't really stop. Even though it's boring and I don't want to be doing it, I'm still doing it because I can't not do it. That's how it feels watching Manchester United at this point, and things need to change. And it's not as simple as changing the manager, because Van Gaal has always papered over the cracks. That's what he was doing last season. Getting us into 4th place was the starting point. You know, this season has been entirely him saying, well, yeah, we're not playing brilliantly, but we're getting results. Well, now we're not getting results anymore. You know, we're very inconsistent at this point, and if we're inconsistent on the pitch, then, you know, that really just highlights everything that's wrong off the pitch. And there is so much wrong off the pitch at Manchester United. We need an overhaul at the very top level. I'm not necessarily saying Edward needs to go, but he needs to get a fucking clue, that's for sure. He needs to understand what he is here for and what his job really is as being Manchester United's chief executive, and he needs to appoint a manager who will make the club great again. You know, it's just, the priorities of this club have changed since Ferguson and David Gill left. It's no longer a football club, it's a business. They're trying to make money. They don't give a toss about how well we play. All they care is that we're staying in the Premier League, you know, and that's ridiculous. All they care about is making money and, you know, putting a Manchester United crest on every cereal box, on every billboard in from here to Shanghai. That's all they give a toss about, and I'm not okay with it, and no one should be. No one should see their club go to that lengths, because Manchester United is a football club. Just because we've taken it off the badge doesn't mean we're not still a football club. And at this point, it's getting to the point where we're starting to not be a football club anymore. We're starting to be a business, and that's just, I'm not okay with it. We need to fix something. And, you know, I'm not just, you know, sitting here as a talking head saying we need to change something. I do have an idea for what we do. It's not like I have any authority, but I'm going to tell you, because I mean, like, the 10 people that watch this video one of them might have some sort of influence. There's a 3-point plan here that can really help, in my opinion, will change the fortunes and get us back on track, you know, because that's all I want. I just want to see us going in the right direction, moving towards a common goal that will get us to where we want to be in the next 5 or 10 years. You know, I'm happy to not win a trophy for 5 years if in 5 years' time we're back to being the Manchester United that I know and love, the Manchester United that I have been a fan of for so many years. That's what I want to get back to. And the first step, in my opinion, is we need to sack Louis van Gaal. And I know that's maybe a bit of a bold statement, and I have, you know, said already it might be a bit contradictory to what I've said in the video previously to this. which is that, it's not all Van Gaal's fault and that sacking him won't solve everything. I'm not expecting it to. But what we need is we need a change. And I'm sorry, but in the modern football game, the only thing that you can do that can cause and spark immediate change is a change in management. So even though I don't blame LVG for everything that's gone wrong, I think he did a very good job to get us back in the Champions League and sort of steady the ship. But he's lost the plot this season, and he needs to fall on his sword for it. He needs to give the job to Ryan Giggs. I mean, I know it's not within his power to, get success. The powers of succession are not in his hands, but he needs to say, right, I'm resigning. I think you should give it to Giggsy. I think Giggsy takes it till the end of the season. Give him the 6 months, because I think that will get a reaction out of the players. Because Van Gaal has lost some of those players. He's benching Juan Mata over Marouane Fellaini. This man is not the right man for the job. Marouane Fellaini needs to park his arse on the bench and be brought on in the 75th minute for a plan B, not played in the central of midfield, week in, week out, whilst Juan Mata, withers away on the bench. No, that's not okay. We need a man who knows his football, who knows how to play and win in the style that Manchester United are accustomed to. I know he doesn't have much experience. I know that Ryan Giggs could end up just being a bit, average, but that's not really what I'm talking about, because I'm not sitting here saying Ryan Giggs should be the manager for the next 20 years. I'm saying he needs to be the manager for the rest of this season to get a reaction from the players, because those players are just going through the motions, and we can't have that. We need a manager who is going to motivate them, who is going to make them want to impress him, and who understands the power of giving youth a chance. Because for all that Louis van Gaal says about bringing through, young players, for all the first team debuts he's given to Guillermo Varela, Cameron Borthwick-Jackson, Paddy McNair, Jesse Lingard, Andreas Pereira, the list goes on. He's not actually using those players. He's using them out of necessity. The only reason Borthwick-Jackson's anywhere near the first team is because Luke Shaw's got a broken leg, Marcus Rojo's got a dislocated shoulder, and Ashley Young has torn his groin. That's the only reason that Borthwick-Jackson's in the starting 11. The same could be said for Paddy McNair, who came on today. He's not had a look in this season, even though Chris Smalling has been crying out for a centre-back to partner him, not Daley Blind, an actual centre-back. Why not give Paddy McNair that opportunity? These are the types of things where Van Gaal can point to a list, he can point to a chart and, a statistics list of how many players he's given debuts to, but he's only done that because he's had to, because he's not built a squad in the transfer window that is strong enough to hold up over the course of a long, 4 competition English Premier League season. So I think Van Gaal needs to go. We need to bring in Ryan Giggs for the rest of this season. He will give players like Adnan Januzaj, Jesse Lingard, Memphis Depay, Anthony Martial, Juan Mata, Andreas Pereira. He'll give them opportunities to really show their colours, because Memphis Depay's coming off the bench at this point, so's Juan Mata. Pereira and Januzaj are barely getting a look in. He needs to have these players, sort of understanding each other and linking up in a way that can, create some sort of bond between them, because that's what the class of 92 really was. It wasn't just a group of, 5 or 6, really great, promising young players. It was a group of 5 or 6 good friends who had been playing with each other for so many years and had established an understanding and a mentality that led them to winning the league over and over again, and winning the Champions League and making a difference and making Manchester United the club that it has been since then. And that's the kind of thing that we can do again. We've got players who have that kind of potential, but they're being suffocated by the way that Manchester United are playing at the moment and by the way that they're kind of being told to play and the opportunities they're given. So give Ryan Giggs that opportunity. I have a feeling that while he's not going to, be a storming success, he's not going to be Pep Guardiola, he's not going to come in and win the treble in his first season, but I think he will at least, get us playing the right kind of football. And, I'm facing the reality at this point that we may not be in the Champions League next year, because, with Leicester and Tottenham, let alone Arsenal and City, are disappearing over the horizon at this point. We're 5 points off 4th, and we don't look like our performance is going to get any better. If we came up against any of those teams next week, we get embarrassed. So if we don't make Champions League next year, fine, whatever. Like I said, success isn't really... intangible success isn't the most important thing to me right now. Right now, what we need to do is we need to have a game plan. We need to get ourselves on track. Germany, the national team's gone a bit of a tangent. 15 years ago now, got beat 5-1 by England. 5-1 by England, and England are the most underachieving international football team in world history. That's not debatable, And we smashed them 5-1 in Germany 15 years ago at this point. And do you know what Germany said at that point? They said, right, we've gone out in the group stages of the Euros. We've gone and been beaten and embarrassed by England, at home the following year. we've got to overhaul this. And they put into place a long game plan, not something that was, well, obviously on a national team level you can't do this, but to apply it to Manchester United, not, go and buy every player under the sun and get a top manager and, just kind of force it. They said, okay, we need to reform the way that youth players are scouted, trained, coached and produced in our country. And look at them now, world champions by a mile. They're probably the best team in the world by considerable distance. And all of that is born of players who are 24, 25 years old, who are, just starting their development at that point. And we went into that long period where they just played the long game. And the funny thing is, they had a decent amount of success in between. They were making the World Cup semi-finals, World Cup final, Euro final. They weren't winning anything, but they were at least, doing stuff. Because when you change the structure and everyone can get on board with a kind of game plan, with a direction that the club is going in, the current team will react to that as well. And that's something that we can do. We can put that kind of thing in place. We can say, right, let's change our scouting system. Let's do what Ferguson did, treble the scouting system, get all the players that are currently going to Spurs and City and Arsenal and all the other big clubs and are passing us by, get all those players to come into us and establish a mentality from the very earliest point in their development, and get them playing that kind of football and have a culture about the team. And you don't need to invent that. United have a culture. It's just deserted us in the last 3 years. We need to get back to it, and giving Ryan Giggs the job will kind of give that kind of incentive and kind of make that statement that is the direction we're going in. We could finish 8th this season, but as long as we're playing better football and I can see that we're going in the correct direction, even if it's going to take 3, 4, 5 years, I'm satisfied with that. I'd be more satisfied than that than, scrapping into the top 4 again and keeping Van Gaal for another season just for this to be, stagnant and happening again. I don't want to have this, rant again. I want this to change. And then in the summer, in my opinion, if it is possible, we need to bring in Pep Guardiola. I know that he's not someone who's long-term really going to be committed to our club. He's never stayed at any club, even Barcelona, the club that gave him his first chance, the club he played for loyally. He didn't even stay at them for more than, 3 years, But that's not the point. The point is that if we don't bring in a manager like Pep Guardiola, one of those top-tier coaches who is going to get the best out of his players, if we don't bring him in, someone else is going to, and someone else is going to reap those benefits. If we can get Guardiola in, keep Giggs, keep him as an assistant manager. Giggs having 6 months of managerial experience, and then being under Louis van Gaal, being under David Moyes, and then Pep Guardiola, he can still mature to become the Manchester United manager in long-term future. And give him these little pockets of experience, and give him this senior authority figure who can really show him the way. Because I don't mind if Guardiola stays for 3 years, because in those 3 years he will make us a team again. He will make us play good football, and he will make Manchester United what it's supposed to be. So in my opinion, that is the 3-point plan over the next 6 months, that if it's attainable, we should go for it. Get Van Gaal out the door, give the job to Giggs till the end of the year, get United playing in the Manchester United way again, then bring Guardiola in and take next season by storm. That is all I have to say. It's been a very long video. If anyone is, stuck with it to this point, please let me know. I'd really appreciate to know that, my ramblings have gone, haven't gone, unlistened to. But thank you very much for watching if you've done it. And if you've got any opinions about my plan, for the long-term future, or maybe any plans that you have, anything you want to say about this, please comment on the video. I will talk to anybody about this, as you can probably tell. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.